This Brooke Binkowski lady, um, she's got a bit of the jibber jabber. I didn't listen to the whole 20 minutes. I found it a bit the whole half hour. Listened 20 minutes. It was a bit provocative. I didn't like what was being said here. Um, First of all, there's a mistake claiming that jihadism is not really an issue in terms of crossing the borders. Although she wants open borders, but we know from Bataclan that those guys came in through from the Middle East via Germany, via Merkel's migrant invasion, and we know that that's a solid fact. And so she's trying to play down an incident that was actually verified. This Binkowski lady is involved in Snopes. She has her own fact-checking website. This whole situation with fact-checking, so-called, is a bit of a scam, obviously. Run by elite media. The BBC have their own version, Mariana Spring. Sort of earnest young woman. I think they believe their own lies. Binkowski's a little bit older, been around a while. She's Snopes. Um, yeah, very provocative. So she got that wrong. Also, she mentioned Nina Jankowicz, the notorious disinformation little board they had up. She got the sack from that. She's another sort of earnest woman. Did the sort of theatre, Mary Poppins style sort of character. You can look those up. There's plenty of those. I thought she was quite talented. I did say on Twitter that she should have stuck to that. She stuck to that sort of nonsense, stuck in the musical theatre, and leave the rest of us the fuck alone. She's gonna um, alter tweets, edit tweets, give that to blue ticks to edit people's tweets. Supposed to be focused on Russian disinformation, maybe Chinese, foreign influence in the US mainly, I think. But it's not a very good development at all because all the technology seems to come through English language, comes through the US, Silicon Valley. So it would have had knock-on effects for people here and all around the world. The whole disinformation board was very sort of a little bit scary, I think. The guy that brought, I can't remember his name, neocon psycho, neoconservative, they're going to put in charge of it now. Absolutely dreadful situation. Bring Binkowski praised it. She thought it was a good idea, maybe mishandled. So this is what you're getting from these Antifa people. They want state censorship. Now, these days, they think they're in part of the establishment. They're radical liberals more than anarchists, really, these days. You couldn't call Western anarchists anything. They're radical liberals there. Maybe Australia, more social fascist sort of ALP types, sort of left wing of the Labor Party, but not genuine radicals, I don't think. If this is the sort of garbage that they're endorsing, state imposed censorship and harassment of dissident thought, very poor. She really had a case of the jibber jabber, this woman, very irritating. I found a picture of her actually with accused sex offender Ron Jeremy. Adult movie star, long time, little thing, fat little hairy man. Bit better looking in his younger days, but sort of, yeah, don't want to talk too much about him. Don't want to mention anything, but he's under trial for some bad stuff. We won't talk about that, but she's a picture of her on a SoundCloud, I think. Smiling with him. You'd think she'd take that down or thing. These Antifa people have problems with sexual stuff. It's not just sort of MAGA people, and it's not really the Democrats, is it? You hear like the Q people, it's all Democrats, but no, not really, not at all. So I think that the Q, go on to Q, that's a bit of a right wing psyop. Dershowitz and Pizzagate. Pizzagate was the other one. Pizzagate was very much a deflection campaign from right wing sex offenders in US politics. Michael Cernovich, Dershowitz, a few other people, and Q is supposed to be Jim Watkins, a guy who worked for the US Army, hosted the pedophilia boards, a lot of pedophilia stuff on, I think it's 4chan or 8chan now they have, both those ones. So a lot of internet pedophiles involved in spreading the Q thing, and that was a deflection campaign, clearly to deflect everyone from right-wing sex offenders, pedophiles. Quite clear that's what it was. A sort of psyop, a US military psyop, probably, possibly the CIA. So I don't really take that seriously. So this lady Binkowski had a picture of took a picture of herself with what's his name? Accused rapist, adult movie star Ron Jeremy. Very sinister. I know people take photos with people and sort of doesn't really mean that much, but every time you dig into these Antifa people, there's a lot of this sort of stuff here, so you've got to wonder whether they're agents, deep state agents, and a bit shonky. Secret cops, a lot of Antifa people are cops, clearly. David Rovik said that, I think. It's a pretty obvious point. So this I was listening to about 20 minutes of a rant on and jibber jabber like she's high on something, but pretty dreadful stuff from these Antifa guys, these Melbourne ones. Andy Fleming and this guy, Cam Smith, I think, they're just not all lapping it up. They are. So their opposition to state oppression is non-existent these days. These people, you can't take these people seriously in any way. It's just the whole thing was a total joke. It was just repulsive. This woman fact-checking this bullshit. The Daniel Dale, that CNN guy, who did everything about Trump every time Trump made some sort of small offhand comment, talk. Obviously, Trump lied endlessly because that's what his brain is. His brain, that's just how he is. Lie, lie, lie. Couldn't lie straight in bed. But this Daniel Dale said about Joe Biden, he said, I don't need to do that because I'm not worried about him telling lies. And old grumpy, grapey Joe was telling people about coronavirus. You take a vaccine, you won't get it. Straight up misinformation. A clear case of it, and they're not. The fact-checking people aren't bothered by it. It's just the thing. It's a lie, an obvious lie told by a US president. A dangerous one too, because it lulls them into a false sense of security. Seen that maybe with Adam Richard, who's got supposedly long COVID, chronic fatigue syndrome. A bit of a name for it, been around for a while. This is supposedly associated with the coronavirus infection. But, yeah, it's just totally wrong what Biden said, never retracted, doesn't bother anyone. Because it suits the establishment narrative. So these fact-checking people, the CNN guy, Binkowski, they're totally discredited. They're totally ridiculous characters. I think you should just completely ignore them and try to establish this truth or something close to the truth for yourselves.